Mahler in a minute, but Pat Crakes, consultant, former media executive, just sent me a text. He had a couple of thoughts. He wanted to kind of put a bow tie and maybe tie a knot with what we've seen really for the last 13 months and including today. And he made a comment. You know, Jim Williams is the one that brought up Apple TV months ago, and he was right that was who wanted to be a part of it, or the major part of it. They wanted to run the ship. But Patrick put together a question about today and all of what's happened here. Patrick Craig joins us on 365 Sports. I promise you, Pat, we appreciate your time. Thank you. So this was self-inflicted. Everyone wants to blame everybody else. But in your opinion, was this Pac-12 self-inflicted?
It was. Hey, guys, what's up? Look, I think it's really simple. As we've talked about a couple times, it's really important to know you're in a crisis. Then it's really important to resolve it. The Big 12 understood that. The Pac-12 seems to have not grasped that completely. And the media landscape continues to evolve at an exponential rate. If you look at what everybody was saying last year, maybe, you know, I'm in front of that prediction right last year, and I'm still in front of it now. But there's no way that I think that some of the things that transacted last year could happen today. And they just didn't realize how fast the sand was shifting underneath their feet. And before they knew it, it was a matter of, we've got enough. We've got to figure out how to pay for things. These are the linear networks. There's not enough shelf space for you. We can't really sort this out. And then they go to an Apple who, you know, some of this baffles me with Apple. It's like, if you want to enter the sports space, this would seem like a great place to do it. For an extra $5 million off of what the offer was per school, they could have locked these guys up and then been in the college sports space. You kind of like it was, and then you slap a deadline on it. You lowball them and slap a deadline on it. It's like your dancing partner really isn't that interested in you. So yeah, this opportunity for realignment should have happened in 3 or 4 years from now. But you can't. You've got to basically take advantage of the situation. And I think the Big Ten and Fox saw that. If Oregon and Washington are prepared to join the Big Ten for significantly less than what everybody else is making for multiple years, then maybe you can find a route to pay for all of this. I still think it's complicated. And then the Big 12 will have to sort out probably, because we don't know for sure exactly how many schools can get a full pro rata or not. I'm still not completely 100% on that. But regardless of what it is, it's a great problem to have. And it sits on not locking things down and not realizing you're in a crisis and not doing anything about it.
Pat, you mentioned it's a great problem to have, and I was going to ask, where does that, if they didn't have that money for the Pac-12, Fox in particular, because if ESPN's already voted, say, the Big 12 4 full shares in the pro rata and Fox only 2, if Fox was trying to save that money on both ends either way, why would they come up with it now if they didn't want to be involved in the Pac-12 before, just because these schools are in a different league?
Well, they may have thought, number one, that they would have to chase the Pac-12. I think that would probably some. Number two, they have to make more hard content decisions going forward. So if they feel that they're 90% done, they just don't need to cap it off at 100. But given that this situation emerged because of kind of the missteering of this crisis, they found a route to make it all work, because this opportunity has emerged where before, to get everybody in, you were going to need to pay them a full share or something like that. So I think that they'll take what they've agreed to in the Big 12. They may be prepared to come up with more for the other schools, depending on the situation. We got to figure out where you're going to park all this inventory. The Big 12 may end up with a portion of these economics. They're on the hook for it, and they got to find another partner. But that probably will be, they'll probably be able to figure that out. It's a good problem to have. Originally, like if you're going to have a Pac-12 stay intact and you're trying to steal things, or you're trying to figure out a way to steal your way to more schools or walk your way to it, it can sometimes get complicated with the economics. But if a position is going to be that nobody has any other option because the one partner who's interested is lowballing you and putting deadlines and starting to push you around, suddenly everything makes sense. and you'll find a way to fix it on the back end. We used to talk about it all the time when I was at Fox. We're building FS1, trying to figure out where we're going to park all the programming. It's a good problem to have all these good content partners, and it's a good problem to have for the Big Ten and the Big 12 to have these schools join them.
Patrick, to put a bullet on it, or to put bullet points up, not a bullet on it, that one, they didn't understand the crisis or management of it. Number two, again, this was self-inflicted. Three, Apple, why not an extra $5 or $6 million each to just make sure it works? But number three, does this mean Apple's not quite ready for sports media in a way that they're not quite understanding the game?
Well, I think they understand the game. I think the question is, one of the things that gets out is people get very excited about Apple and Amazon. 5 years ago, it was Facebook. All these guys were going to roll up sports. It could be very exciting for the media. They use all this stuff. And the truth of the matter is, reality is, Apple is trying to figure out whether media has a part in their business or not. Right now, even if it was very successful, it would be a rounding error and they're a beat-a-da. And it looks like to me they're just proceeding kind of slowly and very carefully. And they basically leveraged every piece of leverage they had in this negotiation, and it was enough to make the Pac-12 break. And they didn't care. It was unimportant to them. And that's because if we don't catch this, guys, we're okay. So take that for what it is. But there's a whole lot of go-go reporting about both Amazon and Apple and other standalone streamers who really make their money in other kind of industries. And I think this should give everybody who gets enthusiastic about that pause, not only just about what they're going to bid on and what they're not going to bid on and how this all fits into it and how do you get to it, but also, like, if you do partner with them, like, what's that relationship look like? And I think that's a really good question that people have to ask themselves going forward.
Really do appreciate you, Pat, for being on as many times as you have. It's not over because it's never over, but thank you so much for jumping on today with your opinion and also your insight of being in those boardrooms and those negotiations. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Pat Crakes, media consultant, former media CEO. Appreciate his time. We have to do this.